Sports news outlet theScore recently came out with their NBA power rankings for this upcoming season and placed the Toronto Raptors in the 10th spot. So, are the Toronto Raptors too low on this list? Are the Toronto Raptors too high on this list? Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports, where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and we are on our way to 2,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you like what you see from today's video and you want more of me talking about the Toronto Raptors in videos just like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and join the movement of the channel. But today we are talking about the scores NBA power rankings, and like I said in the intro, the Toronto Raptors were in 10th position on that list. And you probably, if you've seen any videos in this channel, you probably already know what I think about that position. The Toronto Raptors are too low on this list. This comes the season after finishing second in the entire NBA, not just second in the East, second in the entire NBA. The Raptors finished with 53 wins and 19 losses. The Los Angeles Lakers finished with 52 wins and 19 losses. Now, if the Lakers had that extra game, maybe they could have tied the Raptors in terms of their win percentage with 53 wins, but they didn't, and the Raptors finished above them. They only finished behind the Milwaukee Bucks. Toronto Raptors were the 2 seed in the NBA, and now they are placed in 10th position in the power rankings, even though they really didn't lose a core piece of their team. Sure, they lost Serge Ibaka, who was a big loss, and they lost Marc Gasol as well, but this core group of players is still there. They kept Kyle Lowry, they kept Fred VanVleet, they kept OG Anunoby, and they still have Pascal Siakam. That core group of players is still there. And if you had to pick one position on an NBA court where you could afford to lose a player and get somebody else, it's 100% the center. You can just replace that. You can find a big, you can find a suitable big to replace the bigs you lose. That is the best position to lose a player in. Yes, the Raptors lost Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, but Marc Gasol was regressing. We knew this. I thought his career in the NBA was finished, to be honest. I thought he was on his way to Barcelona. I thought from the reports that was completely done. He was going to Barcelona, but stayed in the NBA, went to the Lakers. Serge Ibaka, our 6th or 7th man, a guy who came off the bench, we replaced him with a very good big in Aron Baynes, a big who, in terms of the starting position with Marc Gasol. Is he better as an interior defender? Absolutely not. Marc Gasol is the better interior defender. Is Aron Baynes better as a perimeter defender? Yes, absolutely. A lot more mobile than Marc Gasol is, and neither of them are that mobile, but Aron Baynes is certainly better. When it comes to the offensive end, does Aron Baynes have the basketball IQ of Marc Gasol? No, he doesn't, but what Aron Baynes has is better interior scoring, better pick and roll ability, better shooting from 3, so Aron Baynes has a lot of good qualities that Marc Gasol doesn't have, and I think Aron Baynes is going to be a nice piece in the puzzle for this Toronto Raptors system. Is Aron Baynes better than Serge Ibaka? No, he is absolutely not better than Serge Ibaka. But again, the core is intact. We did get a suitable big for this team. The Raptors are still going to be a good team this season. We lost Kawhi Leonard 2 off seasons ago and didn't replace him, yet got even better last year in terms of win percentage. From last year to 2 years ago, the Raptors were better last year in terms of win percentage than 2 years ago. Obviously, they went on to win the NBA championship that year, but regular season-wise, they got even better without Kawhi Leonard. So how do we think that without Serge Ibaka or Marc Gasol, they won't be able to overcome that and still be a great team in the NBA? Now, I'll give you the list that theScore put out. Here is the top 10, starting with number 10, the Toronto Raptors. You have Raptors at 10, the Brooklyn Nets at 9, Philadelphia 76ers at 8, Portland Trailblazers at 7, Denver Nuggets at 6, Boston Celtics at 5, Miami Heat at 4, LA Clippers at 3, Milwaukee Bucks at 2, Los Angeles Lakers at 1. Now, I will put that list in the bottom of the description if you want to follow that at any point in the video, as well as the link to this article from theScore if you want to go check that out while I talk about it. But here is my little spiel on that. The Toronto Raptors are, yes, they're too low. There wasn't a humongous loss from this offseason. Like, yes, Serge Ibaka was a big loss, but again, We did bring bigs back. Chris Boucher is going to get a bigger role. Aaron Baines is going to be the starter. Alex Len, who, maybe isn't the best as a backup center, but still decent there. Chris Boucher is probably going to get more minutes there anyway. This team, this core, it's still intact. Are you telling me that the 76ers, who finished 6th in the East last year, are better than the Toronto Raptors? I think that the Toronto Raptors finish above them again. Miami Heat at 4. I think the Toronto Raptors finish above them again. Sure, they have a young ascending core, but still things to figure out because they finished 5th in the East last year. The Toronto Raptors were 2nd in the NBA. Miami Heat are going to be a good team. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, but I don't think that they're that much better than the Toronto Raptors at 4th. Boston, I think Boston are too low as well. I think Boston should be higher than the Miami Heat for sure. And Denver, I think the Raptors are on par with the Denver Nuggets and what they can bring in the NBA. Denver are in 6th. I think that the Raptors should be above the 76ers. I think the Raptors should be above the Portland Trailblazers. And I think that there's a conversation in terms of being above Denver and above Miami. I think Boston should move into that 4th position, that young core with these draft picks. That is an ascending team, especially after getting a proper big in the offseason in Tristan Thompson. The Celtics will be better than last year. The Brooklyn Nets as well in 9th. I think that they should be higher as well. So the Toronto Raptors really should be around the 6th, 7th, or 8th position. Definitely not in the 10th position on this list. Again, the core is still in place. They got decent replacements in the big spots. And yes, if you lose your bigs, it's a big deal, but you'd rather lose your center than any other position on the court. And look at these players that we have on our team. Pascal Siakam is set to take another jump in his NBA career this season. He always does. Every year he's been in the NBA, he took a huge jump. He went from 7 points per game to 17 points per game, went from 17 points per game to 23 points per game, and was the starter on an all-star team. And without the lockdown keeping him in his house, away from the basketball court where he lost his confidence and didn't perform well in the bubble, without that happening this offseason, he is going to be back to his best. Fred VanVleet is another one who is going to be taking a good jump this season. 2 seasons ago, about 11 points per game. Last year, 17 points per game. He's going to make that even better. I think Fred can honestly push for 20 points per game, at least 19 points per game from Fred VanVleet. I think he's going to be better as well. Draft pick like Malachi Flynn coming in, who I think is going to have a decent role on this team. OG Anunoby, who is due for his big jump. Like the ceiling that OG Anunoby has, he is due for a jump as well. Kyle Lowry was an all-star last year and has been for 6 years in a row. No doubt Kyle Lowry can keep that going. Maybe not be an all-star, but be either an all-star or near all-star with his performances this season. This team is still here. This team is still ready to compete. Yes, this is a transition season from last year coming into this year, going into next year. This is going to be a transition season from this year going into next year as we look to land a max free agent in the summer. No doubt that's what we're kind of preparing for in this, but this team is still competitive. This team is still out there and going to win basketball games, and a lot of basketball games. Just because it's a transition year does not mean it's a huge regression. The core is still in place. Yet again, this core is still in place, and this core of players is going to be better than they were last year. And they have the best coach in the NBA. Nick Nurse is the best coach in the NBA. This guy coaching this group of players who were so good last season after losing Kawhi Leonard, they're still here. They're still here. The Raptors love the underdog mentality. They want to overcome adversity thrown their way. And all these people, last year they said it as well. Last year, you look at a ton of analysts who had the Raptors as a very low playoff seed, 6, 7, or 8, or even missing the playoffs altogether. This is higher than that, but you got to understand the Raptors never left. The underdog mentality is what thrives them to be better, to reach a different level. And with all these core pieces still here, the acquisition of Aaron Baines, the acquisitions of good players to fit the system like Bembry, like Chris Boucher, this team is still going to be a great team in the East. I think that the Raptors are going to finish either 3rd or 4th in the Eastern Conference this season. I have Milwaukee finishing 1st because you've got Giannis, the best transition player, and where transition ball lives is in the regular season. That's where Giannis is going to thrive. I think he's going to be either MVP or near MVP yet again. Second place, Boston. Again, that young core filled in with some good draft picks. Nesmith, you have Pritchard. I really like Peyton Pritchard. I'm a big Oregon Ducks fan. I like him. Whatever. The Boston Celtics with that young ascending core and getting a proper big will finish second. Brooklyn Nets, if they can figure out, the things beyond basketball, like Kyrie Irving's emotions, Steve Nash being a rookie head coach, having never been a coach before in any situation in the NBA before, if they can figure that out, I think they finish third. The Toronto Raptors finish fourth. The Miami Heat getting better. I just don't think they're in the position to be one of the high seeds in the East at this point. I think with that young ascending core, Bam Adebayo set to take a jump, as well as Tyler Hero set to take a jump. I think that team is going to be a threat. I just still think the Raptors have enough to finish above them. So Brooklyn, if they can figure that out, I think they're third, but the Raptors are a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. Home court advantage in the playoffs is what I expect for the Toronto Raptors. I don't think that's far-fetched at all. This Raptors team is still good. This Raptors team is definitely still good. Last year, before the season started, I thought the Raptors were going to either be the 4th or 5th seed, and they ended up being the 2 seed. Now, I don't expect that to happen again, but we can't rule it out. The way this team competes, the way this team is coached, it's certainly within the realm of their capabilities to be one of the high seeds in the entire NBA yet again. 10th place in the power rankings, that's a little bit disrespectful. So that wraps it up from me. Let me know what you guys think about the Toronto Raptors. Where would you put them in a power ranking? And also, where do you think the Raptors will finish in the East? Or where do you think they will finish in the NBA talking about regular season? If you want to dive into playoffs, you may do that as well. But let me know what you think their regular season is going to look like and how competitive they will be in the comments down below. But that wraps it up. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. Again, looking to push on to 2,000 subs in the future. We just hit 1,000 not so long ago. Thank you so much to everybody who has been supporting the channel. Lots of big things in the future. We're talking about live stream. We're talking about other things in the channel. Just make sure you stay tuned and listen for all that stuff coming your way in the very near future. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.